Okay.
The local recording isn't working for me. They're saying there's an error message, what I believe is the fact that it needs an update, but
I don't think it matters because this is all like we're on one track anyway, so I'm just gonna use StreamYard. I mean,
okay.
just
I just
crazy.
I know Audacity in my, I don't know, the first couple of updates I've had for Audacity, it just went through, but then like now it'll be like
no,
take the update, and I'll be like, okay, and then it'll be like, well, you have to replace it, and I'm like, okay, replace it, and I'm like, no, actually you also already have Audacity open. I'm like, I only have it open because you're trying to do an update, so what is the beef? So that's been my main fight with Audacity.
Okay, so then we don't have to do the we just don't have to do the other one. We can just do StreamYard. All right. I'm first. Welcome to Wizard Team, a Black magical podcast for Black magical stories.
Hi everyone, it's Bayana, Robin, and Portia, embarking on a journey through the many fantasy stories written by and about Black people. Today, we're wrapping up our mini-series discussing Black Panther, Tales of Wakanda.
So we're in doing our wrap up. We're gonna play a game as we love to do, and then we are going to kind of go over all of the stories, get some like quick feedback, recommendations type of thing. Just talk about the anthology as a whole.
Yeah, like if you kind of like giving you recommendations based on stuff that you like.
Yeah.
Or might
like from reading this anthology. So we're going to start with a new to us. It's not really a new game, but it's new. We haven't done it before. Superlatives, in which we give superlatives to some of these stories and characters. Does anyone have one?
I vote down. I nominate Dr. Drum as the character most likely to I guess like stay sprung over a hookup from 5 years ago.
Most likely to be in love with their high school sweetheart.
Yeah, that's a good one. I was gonna say most thirsty, but that's not very nice.
I was gonna do Shuri from Bon Tomps as character most likely to be famous. Isn't that like a superlative?
Yeah.
In your books?
Yeah. Monica Rambeau is definitely best dressed.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Undeniably.
These are all from Bon Temps, but
yeah. I was
gonna stories like
I was doing another one. I was actually gonna do a story. So story most likely to turn into to get adapted into a movie. The Okoye one.
Oh,
Akumbamba.
Is that the one? Hold on, let me double check.
Yeah.
Ukubamba.
Ukubamba. I've been watching. I just started The Equalizer. It could have easily been an episode of The Equalizer.
I would say that one, but I would also say, hold up, let me.
I feel like Return of the Queen is the story most likely to be adapted to the animated.
I was literally like, I was like, not a movie, but like
animated,
like a little 30-minute situation. Yeah, definitely.
Let's see.
I feel like Legacy is the most likely to be adapted into like a YA novel.
Oh yeah. And I would read the crap out of that one.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I did too. I feel like I have to go down.
I have another one.
Immaculate Conception is most likely to win a Hugo Award.
Excuse me.
Nominated. I can see being nominated.
Yeah. Fortunately, let's not go too far.
I see like The Monsters of Mina Nagay by Milton Davis. I could see that one being a story most likely to like be part like of a folktale kind of thing, like a mythology kind of thing,
like that beginning part of Black Panther, like the opening of Black Panther. Yeah. I would say also the one where T'Challa, I think it's Faith, where he like meets Bast's daughter. I could see that also being like an animated like situation too. I mean, I think all of them that could be interesting, like adapting it into like an animated series
like
type
a what
situation.
If type of thing,
yeah, like a what if or
vignettes.
Yeah, like that would be kind of cool.
I would watch that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, if we go back to characters superlatives, that Bast would be like most likely to have people fighting over her, like some kind of like drama. Most likely to be cast in a Real Housewives franchise, something like that,
or like most likely to like. I'm not gonna say enthrall because it feels very fey, but Bast really does have fey qualities, like as a god. So
I see Bast as Marie Kondo in that I love Meskis. Like, oh, I love you.
Yeah,
the girls are fighting over even her own, like, you know, T'Challa and her own daughter. She's like, yeah, let's do this. This is entertaining.
And she straight up tells them too. She's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I feel like if y'all just keep going, dude, you keep going, and I'll figure it out.
The more you talk, the clearer it'll become.
It'll come to me. And they're like legit fighting, and she's just like, "Nah, you're good. Just keep going. I'll get there."
I feel like Killmonger from Killmonger Rising is definitely like most likely to succeed. Like he sets out a plan to murder somebody, and it's gonna happen. Like
succeed. Parentheses
at
murder,
what cost?
At murder.
We were talking about that, like, I mean, I guess we could wait until we get into more of like the story things, but like the 3 Killmongers in that story and like what the end goals were for each of them, and like we were kind of like confused about the end goals differences between Eric and N'Jaka, but we were like, but Killmonger just want to kill. Like he gonna just that's his.
It's in his name.
Clear.
He's like,
it's very
my
clear.
objective.
He is not changing a thing.
Yeah,
he is gonna get to Wakanda and seek revenge through any means necessary.
Exactly.
Like if I'm in the room, expect murder to happen.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, murder is gonna be it.
I think most likely to make you cry, I would say Stronger in Spirit. Just because like because of like I don't know exactly when Sui wrote it, but like in terms of timeline, but like it deals with T'Challa being sick and like trying to find a cure for that. So if you decided that you wanted to really like deep it, as the British say, you might
not
feel
as the
sad.
British.
No, I think I brought that up in our very first episode where I was like, that one, I was like, and all of the other ones, like I would see Chadwick as T'Challa a little, like, I mean, it would always be kind of like, you know, a little bit vague or whatever, or I'd see like a cartoon Black Panther or like a Black Panther of my own, you know, like something closer to the comics. That one, I was just seeing Chadwick Boseman, and I was like, why are you doing this to me?
And like it has a like happy ending, or a hopeful ending, but it definitely as it's going on, you're like, dang. You're like, oh, okay.
And I did take it too as like a very cool way, because like in Wakanda Forever, it starts with like the end, and you don't know like what he got or whatever. And I was like, oh, so this is probably like what he was battling or something. I would also say that Legacy by L.L. McKinney. Did you say that one was most likely to be like a YA?
Novel,
I think Io is like most likely to become president. just the way that, I mean, even though she's like, you know, a Dora for a king, but the way that she shows up in that story, and then it's just like, all right, and now we'll go here, and I'll, you know, having like a cool ass calm conversation after beating the, like having a battle in the bathroom.
Right.
Just like, you know, she can handle anything.
It's like, let's get on this plane.
Yeah.
Which one was I gonna say? Oh, I was gonna say, what's her name? Dira is like most gullible.
From Shadow Dreams?
From yeah.
Mm.
But yeah.
I don't know. I feel like
maybe not most gullible. Like,
yeah,
maybe like most likely to get caught up in some scheme, like by accident type situation, like
or just, like most helpful, but she's like too helpful. Like she's
it's like
or most trusting, maybe, or something like that.
Trusting.
Like, because it was more just like, girl, she told you, and you were like, nah. She's the best in people. I think. Oh God, I just forgot her name.
From which story?
From Bontemps, the Dora from Bontemps. I would give.
Bonlale.
Yeah, Bonlale. I would give her, like, best friend or like best ride or die. Like if we're going back to like, you know, the B and C superlatives,
right?
She is on the ride or die for sure, but also like she put them chakras in you. So
I mean, she did her job.
Yeah,
most loyal,
most competent.
That.
One more for me is was it the story or was it a character? Oh, so I feel like the story, The Underside of Darkness, is the one that was like in the sea and like where like you don't see Namor, but you know that like he's gonna be pissed off if he knows what's happening in the sea. I feel like that one, that's like a story that's most likely to like pique your interest about the like inner global politics of like Wakanda from based on the like whole anthology. Like that one is the one that's pulling in a lot of different global politics and stuff into it.
Yeah,
not that that's like a superlative that's like a simple superlative, but
you wouldn't find it in a yearbook, but
but I'm like, if you're going there for, if you want to know like the politics where Wakanda sits in the world, like this is a really good story for that.
Especially at that time too, because it's set in the past. So yeah, it's also like history of like Wakandan and
global relations.
Yeah. That made me think, and this isn't a superlative either, but the Heart of a Panther, because when I went over that story, we weren't even 100% sure of like where they were in their journey of like opening up, but like that story would be like most likely to make Wakanda open up, like or the catalyst for them to join the world.
The security crisis that starts it all.
Yeah,
exactly.
I feel like that's good.
Yeah,
we're gonna go through the whole of them.
We're gonna go through all of them, but that was a good like off the dome.
I didn't think about them. I don't know why I didn't think to write them down. You know,
same literally. But
past Robin knows that current Robin is not going to remember what she was thinking about.
Oh, you had ones that you had been thinking about beforehand?
Yeah, I don't know what they were, but I was like, when we decided that's what we were going to do, I was thinking about them. Same with the comps, because I was like, oh, I need to, you know. We talked about I just finished this story, and I was worried that I wouldn't have comps because it's been
a minute.
Well, no, just like that one story has been taking over my brain. Ma'am. I like how you just look at her like she's making like it's yes, completely logical reaction. All done.
Sounds like having something on your mind is running in the household right now.
Yeah, exactly. Word.
Now we can transition. That was the official
exactly.
transition.
No, I was gonna say, I was like, because we were traveling, I had also planned. When did we just saw each other?
We did this on
Friday.
Friday.
Oh, because so we were doing a thing on Friday, but then I was traveling, so I was like planning to do it, and then I was driving, and then by the time I stopped driving, it was like 2 a.m. So it was like, but I think as we go, we got comps for days, so
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this next section is if you like this, try this. And so we will go through the stories of the anthology and kind of give you what we think of as good comps, good, like if you like this story of this anthology, try this story in either like whatever other media form.
Or vice versa. If one of the comps we mentioned you've read and you liked, then and you haven't picked up the anthology yet, then you'll probably like
that story.
Yeah.
And we're comping anything from like movies, TV, books, whatever.
Media.
So
yeah.
Maybe feel a feeling. I don't know.
A song, maybe, depending on how we're going.
So we're starting with Kindred Spirits by Maurice Brodor.
Broadus.
There you go. Any comps?
Well, so it's about so it's set like kind of, I don't know exactly how much, but I think it's still kind of recent. Wakanda's opened up. T'Challa's king, and it's from the perspective of Adora as she's kind of realizing like something is she's trying to she's kind of like, it felt more like she had a feeling something was off, but wasn't really sure. It includes Hunter, or the White Wolf, so T'Challa's like adopted white older brother. And they are kind of, Hunter and T'Challa are kind of, I don't know if they're like outwardly beefing, but there's some like trust issues there. And while that's happening, they're meeting with this like Chinese corporation that they want to like do some work with. But then they find out that the corporation has been building stuff in the surrounding countries, like basically going behind their back. And I don't know. By the end, it's clear that they're basically trying to find ways to exploit Wakanda.
Yeah.
And so Hunter and T'Challa kind of come together to fix that. Is that a good summary?
I think so.
It's been a minute. It's the very first story, and we've been talking about this for like a month. So it's
also the story itself is like, it's very expositional, so it's kind of hard to get a feel for like character or like plot, because it's just like, and this means this and this means that, and you're like, okay, all right, what is this actually? So I think that's as good as the summary you're gonna get from
for sure. But I do have a comp, which I was laughing about as I was thinking about it. A Princess in Theory by Alyssa Cole. Okay. Because there is like if you like the kind of subplot of, or if you like the idea of like the company pretending to do something for Wakanda, but they have like ulterior hidden motives, that is a B plot kind of A Princess in Theory by Alyssa Cole. You also get romance and royalty and African nation that doesn't exist. Also, sorry, because I just read this a few weeks ago, I want to say. They use Zamunda like it's a real country, which I thought was hilarious. From like,
I love that. I've only read one of
Coming to
I can't remember
America.
which one
Yeah.
in that series that I've read, but I've only read one, and I don't remember if they mentioned Zamunda or not.
It might be. Did you read it in paperback?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was this one because
No, it wasn't that book. It was in that series, is what I'm saying. I haven't read A Princess in Theory. I don't remember which one.
Might have been a princess one. I don't know. There's a book in your house that I bought that your mom was like, let me borrow, let me read it. And I was like, you can read it first because I'm not getting there. I don't know where it is. I don't know where it is. It's okay. So yeah, so I was thinking about that as like, because it's a very similar kind of B plot in Alyssa Cole's book. Plus, but it is a romance. So
right, that's not a vibe that's in the short story.
Yeah.
But it has the political
you're
talking about.
Yeah.
Whereas I have something that's like directly like it's nonfiction. And it's the whole.
Can I say mine that's kind of unserious real quick so that we get to your like actual rec?
I don't care. I'm like it's gonna be very dry.
Yeah, Robin's made me think of The Incredibles 2. So I said it's not serious. It's not serious, but kind of in the sense of like pretending on that same kind of level of like pretending to help or trying to help and gain partnership, but having some like background motive, like for your own gain or whatever, and family drama type thing. But you might.
I was like,
if you mess with
Incredibles 2. I was like, wait a minute, what happened to that one?
I was like, as you were saying that, I said, it's been a minute because
I was like,
yeah, I literally, I when I first read it, I promised that was not in my head. But as Robin was talking, I was like, well, wait, that's kind of like. Okay, you serious one.
The serious one. If you want to, I'm sorry for being serious. If you want to read about the way that the CIA and other governments outside of the countries in Africa set, specifically, I believe we're talking about like Patrice Mbaba and a couple of other like people that he was like aligned with, especially when they were doing the Pan-Africanist kind of movement. Pick up White Malice. It is a thickum, but it's a good read, and it actually does like go a bit into the different ways that like corporations, governments, and like diplomacy all had a role, and what happens, and the way that the leaders of like the countries that were really going for people's power, like in the 70s, 60s, 70s in specific, were plotted against, so that the people who were running these private corporations could gain the money they wanted. So that's that. But then also, that is also somewhat similar to police. Yeah, sorry, that noise was like, let me lose my thought for a second. Please, I apologize. Please forgive me for mispronouncing the title of this book. It's like in Arabic. It's like a graphic novel called Shubalik Lubik. Shubik Lubik. I'll put it in the notes. But it means your wish is my command in Arabic. And it basically is a world where wishes are part of, I want to say like it's like Egypt or there and abouts, and they like it was quote unquote discovered, but the peoples had been interacting with like wishes for centuries before white people came and exploited it and then created a system around it. And then you follow the story of like this one guy who's like a merchant who has like a stall where he has 3 bottles of wishes that are high potency wishes, and what happens when people who are not authorized, quote unquote, by the system of the government and the private corporations get a hold of those high caliber wishes.
Okay, I like that.
Okay, let's go to Heart of a Panther, which we don't need to summarize because
you can listen to our previous episode. So for Heart of a Panther, this isn't like a specific comp, which I guess defeats the purpose. But I'm gonna do it anyway. But I was thinking about like kind of hidden places. And I thought urban fantasies in general would be a good comp to that. And then it made me think about Blood Marked, which, you know, plug.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a moment in Blood Marked in which the group kind of gets to see, they go to this it's like a bar. I think it's like a
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think it's like a bar. It's in early in the story. And then from there they meet what are they called? Like a half demon. Cambion. And they kind of get to see this whole system that is like apart, like separate from the like Legend-born system that they are familiar with, and still a little bit more separate from like the the root crafters that Bree knows. So it's just this little like kind of glimpse into like a counterculture of hidden underground magical
like
society.
Like you're used to seeing only one, or you're taught a specific like about this place, this hidden place from a specific lens, and then it kind of opens up into like more, I guess.
Yeah. And that they're using the same, like, so the reason why this comp came into me is like they're using the same magic or yeah, the same kind of magic. And there's that quote in Heart of the Panther where it's like sometimes something like it's about like the diaspora really, and like in a new location it has to adapt and learn and change. And so it starts the same way, but then it's changed. And so that's what made me think of Blood Marked. But like I said, it really comes from that one specific moment in Blood Marked, and Blood Marked is a thickum. So
I know I was right about to. Then I was thinking about ours, which is also very thick. But you know, we like thick books over here sometimes. But I would say ours only because again, it's like the hidden part of it. And like I wouldn't say that like it's not hidden in the same way. But I guess for me it kind of brought up ideas of like Black enclaves and like resources and community that is always in like vulnerable to outside like interference, interests, you know what I mean, like that kind of thing. And like ours I wouldn't say is specifically about that, but it is like kind of a through line in the story. So if that like interests you, I think that could be a good, yeah.
Do you have any comments?
Yeah, to add on to y'all's hidden world thing, and then put an extra chip towards the like magical creatures that just like show up out of nowhere component of it all that was in the story. I would add Sora Boateng's Guide to Vampire Hunting. Like there's like it's a middle grade, and there's a lot of like they're running around like a couple of different places, and you get to see like there is like a center where you see like everyone like kind of getting training around it, but like in the world, like within the US, they are running into like magical creatures that just like pop up when they least expect it, and they're, because her family is trained to work and fight against them, they're able to like be prepared. But like you're running into creatures that are definitely not your normal everyday creatures, and I like that aspect of the part of the Panther story where like homeboy was like chilling with them, and he was like, this is like this property, these plants or whatever, like it was like talking to them, they had names, and I'm like, that was really like it was not just that it was a hidden world for him, it was also like his whole like charge of being like a steward of the place was to also be a steward of creatures of the place.
They were in communion. They weren't his. He didn't control them, but he took care of them, and they took care of. Yeah, I love that. That was a favorite part of that story for me too. Okay, so
Killmonger Rising. So this one is about Killmonger, obviously. But it's really about like his struggle in, I guess, deciding what he wants. So it kind of presents it as if like within him are three different people, and it's like Eric, who's this professor, in Jadaka, sorry, who is like, he has this girlfriend that he loves, but he also like very deeply feels the injustices that happened to him due to him being a Black man in America, and like he kind of struggles with the anger that he holds from that. And then there's Killmonger, who is, you know, still, he's kind of freelancing at this point. So, you know, still committing murder, but a lot of the freelance that he does it if there's a possibility that he'll lead to more information about finding Wakanda.
Yeah.
And so it essentially like kind of goes through like kind of showing these different facets of him, and like him trying to make a decision of like, am I going to, like, what kind of life do I want to live? And
am I going to give up this pursuit that at this point seems like it may never happen, but I've also put so much time and murder into it?
Right. Or am I going to give it up and have to deal with like being a Black man in America and like, and what all comes with that. So that's kind of the story. I think this is not a serious comp. It is, but like if you like Black Panther, like the movie, and you are like very partial to Killmonger's portrayal in the movie, then I think you would like this story.
Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, it's a serious comp, but I'm like, we're obviously talking about Black Panther.
Yeah, so like, yeah. So I was thinking about this. This is not something that I've watched because I'm scared of cat, but Dexter and Hannibal. Basically any show story where there's basically like a serial killer, but also like living everyday life is what I got a lot from that. Is like they're I think in Dexter, I watched like the first couple of episodes and then I was like, I don't want to do this. He is like a medical examiner, so he's kind of also like involved in the investigations of the people that he's also murdered, which is kind of crazy. But and then Hannibal is just, you know, he be eating folks, and that also goes into like Silence of, I don't know if Silence of the Lambs does that, but like what is the Silence of the book? Or I read it. What is it called? Is it called Red? I want to say it's no, it's not. It's Red Dragon. That's the one. Red Dragon by Thomas Harris, which is like the first of the like Silence of the Lambs or Hannibal Lecter books, novellas, books.
Mm-hmm.
That, yeah, that can kind of go for this too.
Mm-hmm.
Basically psychopath killing.
I don't know why I keep getting stuck on this, and I feel like there's a better show to illustrate this, but my brain is stuck on How to Get Away with Murder because Annalise Keating is a professor, and then also her kids and she are getting away with murder sometimes. I feel like there's a better example though that my brain is just not like remembering right now of like someone with a very tame day life. And
Barry.
Like, I don't watch.
Have you ever watched that? Yeah,
it's something I've watched before. I feel like, or like at least caught like a season of, but I can't. My brain isn't pulling it up for me right now. And then another idea that I had was, I think it was a story. Dang it! Me trying to search for the TV show might have wiped the story out of my brain. Trying to think about what aspect of it was. It Professor? Oh yes. So very similarly, this is very white woman getting revenge, but she's like, it's like against like rapists and sexual assault on campus. She's a professor, and it's a thriller basically, and it's called They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. And so she's a professor. She keeps hearing about different instances of rape and sexual assault on campus. Some of them are interrelated with like the department that she's in, and it leads to some interesting cover-ups and things. I think that's what it was. I think the TV show is related to being a secret agent. Like it's like,
yeah.
I gotta remember. It's gonna come back.
I was thinking about like Covert Affairs or something like that, but or Scandal. I don't know why I thought about Scandal, but because B613 basically some parts of Kilmar Rising give B613 energy. Okay. Any comps for you besides Black Panther?
No? I think we have enough. I'm trying to, I don't want to do too many on the.
So I, Shuri by Christopher Chambers. Funnily enough, that one I think comps very well to the second Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
True. Yeah.
So if you,
this one, I'm trying to like I only kind of vaguely remember this. So like Shuri, sorry, 1 second. I'm just trying to make sure I remember this part correctly. So Shuri and T'Challa are definitely they're beefing. They're having not in a sibling way.
Yeah.
They're beefing in a sibling way.
They have a difference of opinion.
Shuri is trying to like map the DNA of like Wakanda, I guess, in a way. And try in a way to like kind of protect them. They're trying to like map. She's trying to map like their history. And so it takes her to this woman her name is Coretta Goins.
Like Houston, right? Or
yeah, she's in. Hold up. She's in. I don't think she's in California. I think that's just she's in Baltimore. Okay, yeah, there was like a genome spot that's in California. I was like, that doesn't seem right. Yeah, she was in Baltimore. So Shuri goes to like find her and talk to her and bring her back to Wakanda. And on their way back, they run into which is just funny because like they run into like the Atlanteans.
Yeah.
And basically have to like find a way to get away from them. But at this point, they also have, like, I don't think that they have, like, Shuri has not met or had to deal personally with them, but they know that they exist. Like, she knows about them. It's not like in Wakanda Forever, where it's like the first time they're learning about their existence. And so it's kind of like this thing where she's trying to she doesn't. I think they want Coretta, and Shuri's trying to like make sure that doesn't happen, type thing.
Very similar to how they were going after Ironheart or Riri Williams.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I definitely think Wakanda Forever is definitely a good comp for that one, which is interesting that it's placed that way after the Killmonger one.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think.
I'm trying to think of a similar story where a Black woman is like nearly abducted, and honestly, the closest thing I can think of is Scandal when Olivia Pope is abducted.
Not when she gets took. Oh god,
oh man,
that's when I was like, okay, this show has lost the plot.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna still watch it though. But it's lost the plot.
It was doing a lot.
I was like, oh, y'all doing too much.
The meme of her holding up that newspaper.
Mm-hmm. I was like, y'all just keep wanting to top the last season, but if it didn't,
we are now
have to do that.
We are now writing for Twitter. I don't know of another. I mean, I guess y'all can tell that like by what I'm currently consuming is top of mind, but The Equalizer has that kind of like the TV show, the like Black women, high tech, going after saving people, basically. I'm only on episode 2 of season 1, so give me a break. But like there's a kidnapping plot in the second episode that made me think of that. I just watched it. So that's a good comp. I feel like there's something, but I'm not like a big science fiction reader as much as I am a watcher. It's kind of strange, but like I feel like there's probably something there too, because I feel like this story lends itself more to like science fiction than fantasy.
Yeah, agreed.
Especially the genome thing, like
that's the thing I'm stuck on. I'm like, I know I've had to
like
see
something there,
Contagion or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I hate it.
What are you gonna say?
Pattern master or the patternist.
Oh.
Of just like not truly.
Not really.
But I was just thinking of like the there's a character like Doro trying to make.
Yeah, but it's not. Yeah, there's no one like.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying because it's like genetic mapping type situation, but not in the same way.
Yeah, he's trying to make a whole new.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Wakanda Forever as a comp. If you mess with Wakanda Forever, you would like this book.
Yeah,
or this story. Sorry. Of Rites and Passage. What is that one? Okay, so this is the one where it's set in like the 1700s. It's like the very beginning of the Revolutionary War, and the king Tsuntu, he's searching for a war dog in Boston. He's like come to Boston to like find this person, Nseku, and we find out. So there's like a whole. He's looking for him. We find out that the person he's looking for goes by. It's not the U.S. yet. So in the colonies, he goes by Crispus Attucks. By the time, not even just like, what is it? Easter egg. But not even really Easter egg. He's looking for him, but this is after Crispus Attucks has already like been killed. So, but in doing that, then he finds this like group of like Black folks who are trying to basically like it kind of feels like I don't know. They're just trying to protect their people. It kind of feels like a pre-underground railroad in a sense.
Yeah.
But but then there's also this group called the Planters, I think, and they're like patriots, you know, like what become American, like they're rebels, and they are attacking. They attack their like safe spot, and so they have to like fight these white folks, basically. I don't know if that was the best.
Kind of. And then he falls in love with someone, but she's like, I'm staying here.
Honestly, and not 100%, but Sleepy Hollow, first 2 seasons, don't even worry about whatever's happening honestly the first season. Yeah. But mostly because, like, you know, if you like period pieces, if you like stuff that's like set during the like revolutionary period, but that centers like Black folks, and also has like, I mean, you know, obviously Sleepy Hollow is set in are close-ish enough to the present day, but they do have like flashbacks, and I think one of those episodes in season 1, they like travel in time. So yeah. If you like Sleepy Hollow for the time that it made sense to like Sleepy Hollow, then you might like this one.
So sad what they put us through.
Yeah.
It really is.
I got like suggested Sleepy Hollow the other day on one of those streamers, and I was like, you have got to be joking me. I was thinking about the like kind of built, like, I don't know. I know it's the settling of the country, but it gave me kind of like also like the Wild West, where it's like it's not quite. I mean, it's not America yet. They're in the like there's colonies and stuff like that. So I was thinking about the book that we Lone Women by Victor Laval, just in terms of that sense of like going to a place and kind of getting to know like the settlers, but it's still not, there's still a lot of like things in flux, and then figuring out. So one of the people that he first meets when he gets there seems like they could be nice, but ends up being a kind of a villain, or like they have ulterior motives and stuff. And so it's more of a vibe as opposed to
right, because it's not set in the same time.
Yeah, it's not set in the same time period. It's not like, it doesn't have the same kind of things, but that vibe of like one, trying to solve a mystery, but two, like the people who getting to know people and getting to figure out their motives and agendas. It reminded me of that.
Yeah. And it doesn't seem like he's like settling. He's not trying to settle in Boston. Like, he is the king of Wakanda. And so he's just trying to like, he's trying to find a particular person, which I think is his nephew, and like bring them home, but not necessarily make a life there, which is slightly different from Lone Women. But at the same time, like in the short amount of time that he's there, he does like find a community and like find people, you know what I mean? So yeah, I feel like that works.
The one thing I could think of, and I'm pretty good for stories set like in this period, but again, my brain, I'm like the one that actually makes sense for like what's happening right now. The thing I can think of is another nonfiction book called Black Writers of the Founding Era, and it's like examining different Black people who were able to publish small works, larger like novel works or whatever, set during the time period around like the quote unquote founding of the United States. And like what, like some of them are just letters that you hear from each other and the correspondence, and like the kind of gives you in a place of where you could understand what Crispus Attucks was going through, possibly, if you were to pick this up. I found it pretty dry. Not gonna lie, I started it and I kind of like soft DNF'd it. Like I'll probably pick it up again at some point. But it was like on the library hold, and I'm not in a rush to get it back from the library. So,
I would say Robin did bring up the pattern of series, but I would say Wild Seed. If you like Wild Seed, then I think you would like it. Just the in terms of time period, in terms of like trying to create space amidst, like Robin was saying, like all this uncertainty and like colonization.
Yeah, that's a good one. Especially like the Black safe space that are it always read really Black to me, but there were other people there. But yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Okay, we should move a little quicker. But And I Shall See the Sunrise by Alex Simmons. So this one is from the perspective of T'Challa's mother while she's pregnant with him. And she has been she's in the middle of almost I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Someone is trying to kill her or like assassinate her. So it kind of opens in the middle of her like trying to get away. And then has just some like reflection of her at being queen and like how that's kind of changed her life and what people think about her. So yeah, that's kind of what it's about. I'm trying to think. I feel like if you mess with Meghan Markle, you might mess with this story.
Which goes back to A Princess in Theory by Alyssa Cole.
I just mean, which like obviously not exactly. It's not 1-to-1, but it is this because of like the queen, because of her background. There are people who don't like think that she deserves to be in that spot or to be queen, and now that she's like pregnant and about to have a son, they're feeling like now's the time to like take her out so that she, you know what I mean, they may end up seeing her son as like illegitimate for that reason. So yeah, I'm gonna stand by it, I guess. Okay.
I'm gonna go.
So it's very silly, but it's the first thing that popped in my head.
I'm gonna go very silly as well, but as you were talking about Meghan Markle, Queen Charlotte, which is like a Shonda Rhimes Bridgerton story.
At least it's fictional,
but it's not. But it's based off of a real person.
I mean, like at least it's like
it's a fictionalized.
I didn't say person.
Yeah. So
ridiculous.
That story, I can't vouch for it, but
right, yeah.
And if you don't know where to start with the Meghan Markle saga.
Well, I'm saying if you're already into that, if you already care about princesses and queens and like that, then you may like that. Sorry, that's super silly. Do you have a serious one, Portia? I have another one in the top of my mind and I'm just trying to like remember. That's all. I just need a second.
I'm trying to remember if there's a book. Like I'm going through a book list of like, what do I think would be a good book fit?
Well, you know
the only thing that came to mind when I was reading the story was like that ambush scene from Black Panther. Like it does have vibes of the ambush scene, like not the T'Challa getting involved from the plane thing, but like the whole ambush and the stolen girls and all of that. Like it gave like the high pace, frantic nature of that ambush is what she kind of goes through in the caravan. At the beginning at the story.
I would say also A Song of Race and Ruin, I think is a good comp. Because of there's just a lot of political intrigue, definitely murder, definitely this like royal trying to figure out her place and like people who don't think she necessarily deserves to rule, that kind of stuff. That's a serious one. I promise you, until I started saying out the summary, I was not thinking of Meghan Markle at all. Faith, by Jesse J. Holland. That one is T'Challa. So T'Challa's homie is getting married to an American woman, and her father is not happy about it because Wakandans obviously worship Bast, and her father is like very Christian, and so he's like really worried that his daughter is
gonna be damned,
losing her soul.
Yes, it's not as good. And so he has this conversation with T'Challa, and they have this conversation about faith. And while that's happening, T'Challa kind of it's like a flashback type thing where he tells him a story, but then we actually see the story. We don't see him just tell it. So it kind of shows T'Challa in a moment where I guess it's like revealed that Bast has a daughter, and kind of the idea was that the idea of Wakanda is that Bast's chosen would rule Wakanda until kind of like as stewards, I guess is the idea. So now that there's actually this like person who is descended from Bast, it's like this T'Challa trying to figure out like, do I give this? And the person is like, she's like 18 years old. She grew up in like, I want to say like Louisiana maybe. So it's not like she grew up in Wakanda and like is entrenched in the culture and all of that. You know what I mean? Like she has not been to Wakanda. So he's trying to figure out like what's best for Wakanda, but then also like if I'm asked to step down, like if Bast says that, like what, do I do that? So dang, I had a comp.
I found another comp too for the last
one. My
one.
comp for this one was City of Brass by Shannon Chakraborty, or S.A. Chakraborty. I haven't finished the full series yet.
It's the best.
But I really liked it. Not that was because she likes a character that I don't like. But anyway, it has a kind of, there are these people in power, and then the main character, I don't know if she's the main character all the way through. She's the main character of this book. Mm-hmm. She finds out that she is like a descendant, I guess, or she's of this like powerful family, and whether or not she's going to come and like kind of claim some of that power back, and is dealing with the family that is currently ruling. Are they friends or enemies? Can she trust them? How much can she trust them? That kind of thing. So that was the comp that I thought
of. Mine is broadly, if you like anime, if you like shonen anime, I think in terms of, and I'm thinking primarily, I'm thinking primarily Naruto, but I also know that it's like kind of a device used across shonen anime, but like I think just the way that it's structured, because again, it's like they're having this conversation, then they have this backdrop or backstory where they're showing this whole thing. Also, the fight is kind of gives that. So I think that if you're into anime, then I think you would like this story based on how it's structured.
Yeah,
they have these long moments, like they're like, standing in front of each other. You can tell that there's like tension and they're probably gonna fight, but we gotta give some backstory first, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I feel like it's like at the tip of my. I like sadly have found comps for stories we've already passed and looking through my book list. And then like looking for one for now, because I'm thinking specifically of like that God angle, like the like interference of gods. And I know I've read something recently that is a good like interference of gods and like being at their behest kind of thing. I don't know if this is a good one. If this is like a good one-to-one kind of comp, but I read The Foxwife by Yangzi Chu, and it is like the story about this woman she's a fox spirit, like demigod, whatever kind of situation, like how in Asian literature, like foxes are their own kind of like entity thing. And she is like bent on revenge because her child was murdered. And the way that she goes about it is like very strong, like motherhood vibes, very like I'm going to get what's mine on the name of my child and that kind of stuff. And it leads her to kind of like be in the crosshairs of people who like she's not infallible, she could be killed, and so she gets kind of like trapped up by then and trapped up by other foxes who are in the mix. So I think it's a good story if you're kind of thinking through like that kind of idea, like not the faith component of it all, even though that does come into it, but also the way that like people treat each other when something may go wrong, and they're kind of trying to look out for themselves, but they're also trying to make sure that like um they have to keep a facade for everyone else, like to not know how things are going on the inner circle of it all.
Word. Okay. Ukubamba by Kyoko M. This one is Okoye's perspective. And she's like and she, ma'am.
There's a dog outside that she doesn't like by just smell because they've never met. You're done. All done. We're safe. We're inside. They're not coming in here. You're not going out there. All done. Don't look at her.
She's like, Auntie, you gonna let her talk to me like this?
Eat your treat.
So Okoye is trying to. So there's some girls that have been kidnapped, and so Okoye is basically trying to figure out where they are, and who's been like kidnapping them, basically. So if you like Taken,
or The Equalizer,
or the one that isn't that the one that Denzel Washington originated in a movie form? Like he was yeah. So the movie version or the TV version?
Or the TV version. Either one. Sorry, my Luna is going through it, apparently. Life is very hard.
Ooh, I would say also if you like that one scene in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you know the one when the Dora show up, then you would like this one.
Yes. I was also thinking...
who's the cast in this? Like, who are the characters in the story?
It's Okoye, and then a bunch of random people that we don't really know, and like a little cameo of T'Challa giving her the task and then going off, but it's mostly just Okoye. I was also thinking about God, what is that? I can see the scene like so clear in my head. It can't be Black Widow. No. Yeah. They're like, there's a scene of someone, kind of also reminds me of the scene in Black Panther with the casino scene. When they're all dressed up. And what is that? I feel like it's a Marvel, but it might not be. But there's like some, like she's like, she's just like dressed up to go to a party or whatever, and it's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh,
it's like season 1 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
When Skye goes to that
like island,
yeah,
and like gets let in and does all this stuff, but then she's like actually trying to find, or like she gets invited there as like she's part of like a hacker collective, but she's actually working for Shield at that point, and so she's trying to like actually do some spying, and it doesn't go well in terms of like they kind of figure out right away that she is a spy, and so then she just has to beat people up. She doesn't do it as well as Okoye does it, but yeah. So that is, I think Agents of Shield in general, but just like if you like that kind of like infiltration, but then it's never 100. It's never a clean getaway. They got to fight their way out.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking about.
What's Done in the Dark? This is the one, I feel like we mentioned it. It's the one with Kevin, or the White Tiger. And he is looking for 2 war dogs that have been abducted by like this like right-wing group in the US. I feel like in some ways, honestly, Scandal could probably go for that one too.
Yeah.
The B613 of it all is pretty strong.
Yeah.
I believe it is now. Again, let me be lying. I this is very much on me watching too many things too much. But I could have sworn it might be a different TV show. Like, because I don't see where it would fit in this. There's a scene in a TV show, not a movie, I'm pretty sure, where there are Black folk who are on the land of the Klan, and there's like a Billy gun or whatever, like one of them big guns or whatever that there's like Tommy gun, and it shoots a lot of stuff. And I'm in my mind, I'm equating that with either Watchmen, the TV show on HBO, or Lovecraft Country. It might be Watchmen.
When you said it, I thought of Lovecraft Country, but I haven't watched either one of those because I'm a baby.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about just like
either they confront people being racist and a bit much, and in this short story, that is kind of exactly where the White Tiger and what's her face find themselves in the story.
I was thinking of like every kind of undercover espionage type of show, but the one that stood out to me was like 24 in terms of like the way in which he was kind of going through the timeline, and then because it's not really like a secret agent thing, what was it called? Oh, Burn Notice on USA, where they kind of use like spy craft or whatever, but it's also just like very cop heavy, cop vibes. So.
Yeah. The Underside of Darkness by Glenn Paris. This one, I almost chose this one, but this one is set in like, I can't remember exactly. I would say like 19th century. And there are these maybe early 20th. But it's the I think the French are like exploring the ocean and they're trying to find Atlantis. And the Wakandans are obviously still closed off and like hidden, but they know that they can't allow the French to find Atlantis because they know that if they do, then Atlantis is going to be going to war. You know what I mean? Like, so they're like, they'll go to war with Wakanda. They'll blame Wakanda for it, basically. So it's basically them trying to like stop these white people from minding business that doesn't pay them, or maybe would pay them, but minding business is not their own. And then in that happening, they also have like the standoff with the Atlanteans, but in the end, it mostly I don't know. I'm not gonna spoil it. But yeah, so that's kind of what ends up happening. I feel like The Bones of Ruin by Sarah Raleigh might be a good comp if you like that what's the word? Like time period. Like this that it's the first one is set in London. But the second one they do end up going to Africa for a good chunk of it. I think they're like in the Dahomey kingdom for a good chunk of it. And so yeah, I think in that case, and also like there's a lot, it kind of explores not necessarily hidden civilizations, but like ancient ones, and like ancient history and that kind of thing. So yeah, you might like it for those. If you like that story, you might like it for that.
One that I realized would have been a good comp for, or possibly good comp for the Christmas Addicts that could possibly also work here, given time period and the theme of like colonization and imperialism, is the To Shape a Dragon's Breath. Because it takes the concept of like there being an indigenous like lands where a dragon's egg is found by indigenous people there, and they, because there's a structure in place by the colonists, they're trying to restrict people's access to dragon eggs, but they can't really take the sovereignty away from the indigenous people. So then there's this whole thing that happens. The whole plot basically happens in relation to all of that. And I could see that being a good kind of like side by side imperialism, the issues with it, the ways that like the sovereignty kind of conversation, especially in the rights of peoples who were there first.
I don't have a comp for this one because I didn't really get it when I read it. I liked it, but I didn't understand what was happening.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it would be. Can I find an undersea comp? I don't know. I don't know if I have any undersea.
Yeah, undersea is a hard. But maybe you would like Atlantis, like the movie.
Maybe.
I think that might be a good one. Okay, and then Return of the Queen. This one, T'Challa. There's like a, what's the word? There's a threat on Wakandan borders, and T'Challa isn't able to handle it himself. So Shuri calls in Storm, and this is post their marriage and annulment of that marriage. And so it ends up kind of being a space for them to figure out their relationship, while also like saving Wakanda.
Yeah, the thing I liked about this story before we go into like comp and stuff was because I'm looking to see if I have a comp, but the idea of like we love each other, but we can't be together because of like it just wouldn't work. And so it was kind of reminding me of like Monica Rambeau and Dr. Voodoo in Bone Tomps a little bit, but like obviously it goes much more deeper than like, you know, we're in different places or whatever she says, we're from different worlds. In which like which case like neither one of them is willing or able to give up what they would have to sacrifice for them to be together. So I was thinking about this in terms of like trope because I couldn't think of an exact story, but if you do like that, like stop it. If you like kind of like the star-crossed lovers thing, I couldn't think of anything that wasn't just like straight traumatic or like, you know, they give it all up to be together. But that kind of trope of like
Well, I was kind of thinking like second chance, which
Mm.
they in the end don't decide to, you know what I mean? It's not quite second chance romance, but I felt like that might be similar because I was thinking of like Before I Let Go, by Kennedy Ryan, which is it's a romance book, but it deals with like these two characters who are divorced, and are like trying to they're trying in their case they're mostly trying to co-parent. um but I think kind of the ways that like T'Challa and Storm approach the situation is like they never like they broke up and then they did not see each other, so this is the first time they're seeing each other in a long time, and so it's not quite the same setup. But I think just the idea of like how do we move forward after that.
I got it.
Yes.
As you're saying, The Adventures of Amina El-Sarafi.
Oh.
Which is second chance, but also not happy about it, because she thinks that she's escaped one of her many ex-husbands, and he is not of this world, and much like Storm is a superpowered being. They figure out how to kind of like work together, and at the end it's not that they decide to be together, but they're kind of just together for a little bit longer. And we'll see how it goes. So are they even together for a little bit longer? Does she try to, I don't know, but that's one that I was thinking
about. Also The Surviving Sky by Kartika Rao, that one is like estranged, an estranged couple, and they're trying to like save their city is on this like floating rock above the earth, and the earth has like all these storms and stuff, so it's no longer safe to live on, but their floating rock is starting to fall, so they're trying to save it, but they're also beefing. So that I think is a good comp too.
I am the one now. So in the past I've mentioned X-Men 97, the Storm from that one. I can totally see her being a part of this universe, and being the same Storm in the story. And then my unserious recommendation is like thinking about the way that like Queen Ramonda and Shuri kind of conspired behind T'Challa's back to get Storm there. Real Housewives of Atlanta, when Cynthia is getting married.
Oh, when Cynthia's getting married to Peter? Oh my God. Was that season 3? So the mom like and the sister hide their marriage certificate? Insanity.
They were right, though.
They were right. They were not wrong, but that was really like insane. That was an out-of-pocket way to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, child.
Okay.
Okay. Immaculate Conception by Nikki Giovanni. I think like if you are into Nikki Giovanni, read the book, but or read the story, but also just like the Black Panthers, like not Black Panther, but like the Black Panthers. I think you would like this story because it's like a alternate reality type origin story for T'Challa, and so and it's like set in Oakland during like the time of like in the like 70s, and so yeah, if you are interested in that like time period, or if you read this and then you might vice versa, you might like to learn more about that history.
I cannot remember if it's the 5th season or the Obelisk Gate when they're living on that island for a while before
it's the 5th season.
It's the 5th season. So I would do the 5th season as a comp for this because of there's a portion of the 5th season when there's a child and they're kind of learning about its abilities and things, and it is a little scary, but like through love, and it just reminded me of In that story, T'Challa's like adoptive mother, I guess, and just how like she decides to raise him, and yeah, it's not a 1-to-1 again, and like the overall story of the 5th season is like very different, but that
Creed maybe
okay.
Creed, I think. Thinking about the like, because I guess like in that I've only seen the first one, but him, there they go.
You're so annoying.
She's like, but I want to bark too.
Okay.
Luna.
Okay. They're fine. They're fine.
Bendy was trying to escape.
So Creed, I think, just from well, thinking about like him trying to like not discover, but kind of like follow the legacy of his father. And in this case, it's a little different in that like T'Challa doesn't necessarily know anything about his like or his like backstory, I guess. He's like learning it, but I think just the idea of like, I don't know, something about it just makes me think of Creed, I think, in terms of the setup and how he gets to like
the origin.
Where he is, and even like there's this moment where T'Challa kind of has to fight to prove his worth, that I think is similar to that movie.
I can see it.
Oakland gave me like the Oakland of it all, the like the dynamics of the city during the time period. Like the book that I'm going to mention is like actually set probably like closer to the 90s, but the factors of the like the city in the peoples, and like the legacy of the Black Panther Party has a component of it. It's called There by Tommy Orange. And it's about people converging like from different indigenous communities for a big powwow in Oakland. And there's like basically you get to see from multiple people's perspectives who are going to be attending the powwow. And there's it's messy, and then what happens at the powwow is very like destructive, and it's like the culmination of everything. So I'm not going to spoil it, but it has similar energy to the like political things going on at the time that you can kind of see from that story. I also have a story recommendation for a book, like a nonfiction memoir from a woman who was in the Black Panther Party, but I didn't love it, but I think it was a perspective that is necessary to read. If I remember the title, I'll just add it to the notes.
Okay. Legacy by L.L. McKinney is about this girl who her grandmother passes away, but before that gives her like this token. They find out like her grandmother's from Wakanda. And so they're like going on this trip to Wakanda over the summer, and while they're in the airport, the girl is attacked by this like woman in the bathroom who thinks that she's a Dora Milaje because of the token that she has. But the girl don't know nothing about that because she's just a regular teenage girl. And so, but then she ends up getting saved by Io, who is actually a Dora Milaje, who then like accompanies them on their way, like on their flight to Wakanda. I'm trying to think because I did have this one. I did have one that was like in my head, and now I'm forgetting. But now all I can think of is like, is that Was that Wanted where Homeboy gets attacked in the office? The one with Angelina Jolie?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is kind of the vibes it kind of gives me, is when when there's like that whole scene in the office. But I have another one that I need a second to think about.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about. I have this like scene very like clearly in my head, and it's The Matrix, but that doesn't seem right.
Maybe.
Where there's someone, they get attacked, but they like all of a sudden they like know they've never done.
Fight.
Yeah, they've never fought before, but they like know how to fight.
Oh.
And I feel like it was a movie that I watched, but it could have just been a very visual book story that
I didn't ever watch Sense8, but I know that was part of their mythos, was that like you could tap into someone else that could do it, but I don't know if that's what you're thinking about.
I don't know, because I didn't finish Sense8, but I did start it, so it might be that.
I don't know if it's Sense8.
I don't think so, though. I feel like it's
one that came to my mind.
They have like a memory that they could just like, I know this now. What is that?
The closest I got is Sense8 for you, bro. That's all I got.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I feel like I know what you're talking about.
And they like it's like downloaded into, what is that?
Was it a Black Mirror episode? You weren't watching Black Mirror.
I watched like the 3 happy episodes of Black Mirror and called it a day.
And Romeo Must Die, Jet Li's character helps Aaliyah's character fight, but it's not the same thing. And like for the legacy, for me, the thing that was like my comp that immediately came to mind, and I think it's also related to the fight. Dang it, you saying about The Office, and what I was thinking was the fight was actually in it wasn't when it was also an isolate, like a place you would not think a fight would start. Dang it, I lost my comp that quick. It was also a TV show or movie, and it was I don't know. Fight scene. It's not an office space. Is it not? It's not a house.
Limitless. Sorry.
I haven't seen that.
Mm-mm.
There's a really bad TV show. That's only like one season, I think. That is also from that movie, but it's the same kind of like take a pill, mysterious pill, and then they can access 100% of their like.
I'm remembering the like
premise
trailer for that.
Yeah.
I'm over my brain. Like I just had it, and I maybe I scrolled too far.
Sorry, this is why we should have wrote these things.
I know. Right?
If we had, but I mean, conversations would help like jar my brain.
Yeah. So. Wings of Ebony, maybe. Just in the sense of like traveling to this hidden place that is connected to like family that you're not really like not just you're not close to, but like they have more to their history that you maybe don't know, and you're like learning it by going to that place. Yeah, I feel like Wings of Ebony is maybe a good-ish comp for that.
I'm thinking about, so like I think that is it Io, the one who
who shows up.
Yeah. So I just think Io is like consistent through the MCU as she is here. So I would take the Io from Civil War, like move or be moved. Like that is the same energy that's being brought in Legacy. And I will possibly come upon and remember the fight scene that I'm thinking about where it's taking place in a very public space, and you're just like, everyone's like, oh, okay, all right. Like, and it reminds me a little bit of the bathroom scene in Legacy, where there's a woman who's like powdering her nose or something by the sink, and she's like, "Oh, I need to get out of here." Like it reminds me of that, and I can't remember what it is right now.
Excuse me. Okay, just a few left. So The Monsters of Minute Nagai by Milton J. Davis. This one is the one where it's set during Bashenga's time, and Wakanda is not quite yet Wakanda. So there's like all these different clans. One of the clans is being kind of overrun by these monsters, or basically people who have been warped or like changed by raw vibranium, and so Bashenga is like wants to go and save them and help them. And the elders of the Panther clan are kind of like no, and are kind of have forgotten that like they're not in charge. And so Bashenga goes anyway. He saves the clan, or saves the other clan, and kind of solidifies like the Panther clan's rule. Yeah. But then he has to come back and fight like he has to kind of fight like a challenge to reprove his strength and like kind of worthiness, like reprove that he was chosen by Bass to like lead these folks, basically. So yeah, I think if you like The Woman King,
that's what I was thinking of.
You would mess with this one. Which I think is also kind of funny that that's like the Dora are not in this, but I still think you like it. Yeah. I think it would be a good one. It's a good comp.
There is so in Homegoing by Yaegasi, there is kind of the earlier story, like I think two of the earlier stories, like they kind of talk about like big men, and I think it might be like the second chapter, not stories because it's all one story, but it has an anthology type feel to it. I think it's the second chapter where we hear more about like the big men and like going and fighting like these like wars in which they would go and fight. And so that was the comp that came to mind, mostly around like kind of Bashenga and his place in the tribe, and then how he kind of proves his dominance or rule, or like being the best fighter. Those earlier chapters of Homegoing it reminded me of those.
I would say the Gilded Ones by Namina Forna as well, especially like the first one. They spend a lot of time fighting monsters, and there's it's more complicated. It is a book versus like really, or it's a series versus what you can do in the confines of like a show. I mean, not a show, a story, a short story. But I think that they have kind of similar vibes, at least in the sense of like the fighting the monsters part, the kind of trying to prove your worth, that kind of thing.
For me, I think the thing that comes to mind the most is like the fighting and the kind of like there being ranking and file among the fighting, and it be like otherworldly creatures that they're fighting against. So I was thinking the dragon series by like Evan Winters,
Rage of Dragons.
Did I love that series? No, but I think that if you like that aspect of the story, then you'll enjoy kind of like all that's happening there.
Okay.
Shadow Dreams. Well, I gave a comp when I was, or maybe I didn't. Maybe I was just thinking of, because I would kind of say, what is that? So like the Gilded Ones again, sort of, and then Blood. Oh my God.
Blood at the Root?
No. There's so many names with blood in it that I just blanked. The one that I'm about to say is not what it's called.
Blood Scion?
No. But maybe Blood Scion, actually.
So many bloods.
It's so many bloods. No, literally, I'm so mad because I actually like another thing is I'm thinking of the I'm thinking of the name of the second book right now, which is The Blood Gift, but it's The Blood Trials. There we go. Child, it's crazy because I was literally like just in my head. The Blood Trials, the Gilded Ones, like ones where and I guess Blood Scion, I did Blood Scion, I think also counts as this, and like where you're like going into this place or going to train to join an army or like just really like when you're joining like a group and you're being trained and you're like have to go through trials or tests to like prove your capability and like fighting. Those are way more brutal. People die, people, you know what I mean? So it's not like exactly one-to-one, but when she like kind of enters the training hall and like they have that whole thing, it kind of gives that vibe for me. But like kinder.
So I have two. The first one, I am so sorry, but I'm going back to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the framework.
Oh
God. Just in terms of like the kind of being trapped in your head, and then being able to switch things. And then another kind of similar is Dollhouse, where and I get this from when she when she's caught and her not alter ego, but her mirror self like takes over. Mirror self?
It's not, that's what she thinks she is, but
yeah.
It's not really.
Alt universe.
Yeah. Alt universe, yeah. So she's able to like kind of take over her consciousness. That I was just thinking about Dollhouse and how they kind of get hooked up to that machine, and then they come out with a whole new personality. So that was my idea.
I will add on Black Mirror. I feel like Black Mirror really does that relationship pretty well. So many of the different episodes have machines and brains and too much of like questioning reality, who all believes you, all of that. I think there's just all of the fighting books that Bayana said. I'm trying to think. I'm like possibly. I just feel like the other character dynamics of it are a little off for other stories where people I've like, especially YA, because I feel like it gives specifically like YA training montage things. The storyline doesn't quite hit up, but so many stories like gosh, it was just in my head and I lost it that quick. But like Ray Bear to an extent has like fighting montage, young people getting trained up kind of thing. Just there's a lot of them. So pick your poison. It would give that kind of vibe. If you enjoyed that part of the vibe, then you're probably going to enjoy like most of the short story.
Also unserious one, that commercial, I think it's a Sprite commercial where Beyonce is battling all the past versions of herself. Or she throws her head back and the glass shatters.
Mirror, yeah,
the mirror shatters. That one.
Funny.
Okay, Bontemps.
So this isn't like one-to-one again, but and I'm so sorry, True Blood. Just in the terms of the vibes of like the like Southern vampires and I'm saying True Blood and not the Southern Vampire Mysteries or whatever they're called, the Sookie Stackhouse like books, because the books are I mean the show is also, but the show is more
slightly less atrocious.
Yeah, and like diverse because they are actually in a diverse place and like it's not like, oh, the dude is still a Confederate soldier, but whatever.
And they glorify it, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that sense of like they're in Louisiana and there's just like all of these, shapeshifters, vampires, things like that. So if you like kind of that Southern drawl, Mardi Gras feel with like supernatural, I would say True Blood kind of gives those vibes. And there's fighting and intrigue.
Blood Debts by Terry J. Benson Walker. That one's set in New Orleans as well. Again, much bloodier and like darker than the story in the anthology. Also, Almost There, which we talked about earlier this year in one of our bonus episodes. It's set in New Orleans. It's set during Mardi Gras, but it's like a Princess and the Frog
voodoo
thing. So it's not present day. It's like set. It's historical fantasy.
Yeah. I would say, and along that same like train of thought, but at the root, even though it takes place, the main character goes back and forth from like his grandma's in Louisiana to like the magical school that he's going to, that has like a Black Southern mystery magic kind of thing going on in it. I'm trying to think of like, I feel like there's a show that was sticking out to me in my head, and nothing. So like, here's the thing. I've been listening for inklings of stories, and there was like supposedly there was something that Gabrielle Union's production company had greenlit that was supposed to like hit on this, and there's also like a Black Witch TV series that like aired on like BET Plus or something that they sound like they're supposed to have similar vibes to that Black Value Magic kind of thing. I don't know about that, but if people have seen them, I would like to hear your reviews. This is me soliciting, is it worth me watching or not kind of vibes. But definitely what's something that I have watched and I think gives like some of those vibes, and I just had it that click again, and did I just lose it? Bayou Black folk. Oh, not all Black folk. So American Horror Story, Coven. That season has Angela Bassett as Madame Laveau. Marie Laveau. And it has it's all like whenever they do the flashback scenes to like during enslavement, and then also like you kind of get a better picture of like how magic is working across the like white folks to the Black folks kind of thing. The whole kind of like political aspects of New Orleans and magic kind of feel similar to what Elijah was trying to invoke during the story.
Okay, cool. Two more. Stronger in Spirit. That's the one we mentioned that is kind of like T'Challa finding. He's in Nigeria trying to find like more information on this illness that he has. Dang. I just blanked on it.
I would say, and this is not, again, one-to-one, but the Broken Blade trilogy, and this might just be me forcing a Broken Blade comp so I can tell you guys to read Broken Blade, but there is this like, I believe it's in the second one of Vicious Game, but there is this sense of like trying to figure out a health issue, which is really just that she's a halfling, but she's like a elf that they think is extinct, and she doesn't know like where she comes from. But that sense of kind of like figuring out this kind of mystery, but like having to go through a bunch of different people, like mediators, is what made me think of that story.
Yeah.
But again,
well, I will say Lost Ark Dreaming. If you, we just, our last bonus episode was with the author Suyi Davies Okumboa, who also wrote this short story. So if you listened to that episode or have read that novella, or have read this story, and you know, I think those are good. Like if you like his writing, then yeah, you should read that.
Yeah.
So a novella that, like Robin was saying, not direct 1-to-1, but it is definitely on the idea of someone leaving their home to try to find a solution to a problem that's like related to, like, in this case, it's related to our whole community's health, because everyone's starving, everyone's like dehydrated kind of thing. Is The Lies of the Ajongo. That one is like it's pretty dire. It's not a very happy story, and it's the like first of a series, but they're all novellas, so it might be worth like a slightly longer read than this short story.
That's on my TBR.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the last story, Zoya the Deserter, which is about this girl who, well, it kind of talks a little bit about, so like, you know, Wakanda's obviously, in this story is hidden, and so obviously no one can come in or find Wakanda, but also you can't really leave either, and so she decides that she wants to leave. She runs away. Her aircraft crashes in like London, I think. And so she's like in the hospital. They're asking her all these questions about where she's from and all this stuff. And she keeps talking about Wakanda. And they're like, girl, are you know, then they start to think that there are other issues.
Yeah.
They realize she don't have no documentation. So she's having a hard time no longer being in Wakanda. She then finds her missing boyfriend, who is apparently had also made this journey and is now sick, is dating someone else and is trying to get home. So he's trying to convince her to give him her only kind of like potential hope in returning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the premise of the story.
So I read Timmy O's other book, More Perfect. Mm-hmm. Well, a book. I think it's the only book Timmy O has out. Well, no, there's another one. But most recent release is More Perfect, and it's similar. Like there is a relationship between two young people in it, and it's contentious. It's not like a straightforward relationship. They're in love with each other, but there's a lot of different things that are going on that kind of keep it from being necessarily great. And when I read this story, I felt the same beats were in there. And then also this and More Perfect gave me Black Mirror vibes as well. So
I'm going for another romance comp, which is like, this is a very, very small part of the story, but the Ain't Shitness of the Ex. If I Never Met You by Mari McFarlane. I think I told you about this because I read it like 3 times. It's like I've never hated an ex as much as I hate this ex. He's like the worst. So just in terms of that, of like the throw the man away-ness of it.
Yeah, he was making me mad.
He was the worst. And I feel like there was another like more like fantasy story one where I was like throw the man away, but I don't totally remember. If I remember, I'll put it in like show notes.
Cool. I feel like we can, unless you had one off top, another one off top, Portia.
No.
Yeah, so we should wrap up real quick. We had a poll across platforms just about like which story was most compelling based off of the episodes that we recorded. And the winner was just
bum bum bum.
like, it was Bon Tomp. So shout out to Portia. Shout out to Portia.
I know how to pick them. No. I'm very excited about this one. I will be taking this championship belt with me that does not exist with me into the next mini series when we do this again.
Yeah, and I'll be learning these lessons, and I'll have a stronger pitch for mine next time.
Yeah. I think you're up, Portia.
Oh, I didn't know if there was. I saw something there before, and I was like, "What's happening? Are we doing something else?"
No, we don't have it. Took so long that I think we're good.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you all for listening. We're going on hiatus for the next few weeks, but you can catch us at the end of June when we'll be starting our blood marked read.
Yeah. I'm very excited.
Yeah, we're gonna be it's gonna be angering. I think in the same way that Amari 2 was. It's just like, these people are the worst.
Yeah. Wither Team is a part of the Black Nerds Create Collective. If you want to keep up with our content, you can check out our website at blacknerdscreate.com. Follow us on Instagram and Tumblr at Wither Team Pod, and Instagram, Tumblr, and TikTok at Black Nerds Create.
Yeah.
Hi, y'all.
And don't forget to this Friday is the last day to enter the tote giveaway that we're doing on BNC. So
you buy the tote, we give you goodies to fill it.
Boom.
We're Sierra, we got them goodies.
Not my goodies.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.